Suleiman I, commonly known as Suleiman the Magnificent in Western Europe, and Suleiman the Lawgiver in his Ottoman realm, was the longest reigning sultan of the Ottoman Empire from 1520 until his death in 1566. 541 to 545 under his administration, the Ottoman Empire ruled over at least 25 million people. Suleiman succeeded his father, Selim I, as Sultan on the 30th of September 1520 and began his reign with campaigns against the Christian powers in Central Europe and the Mediterranean. Belgrade fell to him in 1521 and the island of Rhodes in 152 to 153. At Mohacs, in August 1526, Suleiman broke the military strength of Hungary. Suleiman became a prominent monarch of 16th century Europe, presiding over the apex of the Ottoman Empire's economic, military and political power. Suleiman personally led Ottoman armies in conquering the Christian strongholds of Belgrade and Rhodes as well as most of Hungary, before his conquests were checked at the Siege of Vienna in 1529. He annexed much of the Middle East in his conflict with the Safavids and large areas of North Africa as far west as Algeria. Under his rule, the Ottoman fleet dominated the seas from the Mediterranean to the Red Sea and through the Persian Gulf. At the helm of an expanding empire, Suleiman personally instituted major judicial changes relating to society, education, taxation and criminal law. His reforms, carried out in conjunction with the empire's chief judicial official Ibasud Effendi, harmonized the relationship between the two forms of Ottoman law, Sultanate Canon, and religious Sharia. He was a distinguished poet and goldsmith. He also became a great patron of culture, overseeing the golden age of the Ottoman Empire in its artistic, literary and architectural development. Breaking with Ottoman tradition, Suleiman married Hürrem Sultan, a woman from his harem, an Orthodox Christian of Ruthenian origin who converted to Sunni Islam, and who became famous in Western Europe of his time by the name Roxolana, due to her red hair. Their son, Selim II, succeeded Suleiman following his death in 1566 after 46 years of rule. Suleiman's other potential heirs, Mehmed and Mustafa, had died. Mehmed had died in 1543 from smallpox, and Mustafa had been strangled to death in 1553 at the Sultan's order. His other son Bayezid was executed in 1561 on Suleiman's orders, along with Bayezid's 4 sons, after a rebellion, although scholars typically regarded the period after his death to be one of crisis and adaptation rather than simple decline. The end of Suleiman's reign was a watershed in Ottoman history. In the decades after Suleiman, the empire began to experience significant political, institutional, and economic changes, a phenomenon often referred to as the transformation of the Ottoman Empire. Alternative names and title Suleiman the Magnificent, as he was known in the West, was also called Suleiman I, and Suleiman the Lawgiver for his reform of the Ottoman legal system. It is unclear when exactly the term Canaan, the Lawgiver, first came to be used as an epithet for Suleiman. It is entirely absent from 16th and 17th century Ottoman sources, and may date from the early 18th century. There is a tradition of Western origin, according to which Suleiman the Magnificent was Suleiman II, but that tradition has been based on an erroneous assumption that Suleiman Çelebi was to be recognized as a legitimate sultan. Suleiman was born in Trabzon, on the southern coast of the Black Sea, to Wazid Selim, later Selim I, probably on the 6th of November 1494, although this date is not known with absolute certainty or evidence. His mother was Hafsa Sultan, a convert to Islam of unknown origins, who died in 1534 at the age of 7. Suleiman began studies of science, history, literature, theology and military tactics in the schools of the Imperial Topkapı Palace in Constantinople. As a young man, he befriended Pargolak Ibrahim, a Greek slave who later became one of his most trusted advisors, but who was later executed on Suleiman's orders. At age 17, he was appointed as the governor of First Kaffa Theodosia, then Manisa, with a brief tenure at Eden. Upon the death of his father, Selim I, 1512 to 1520, Suleiman entered Constantinople and ascended to the throne as the 10th Ottoman Sultan. An early description of Suleiman, a few weeks following his accession, was provided by the Venetian envoy Bartolomeo Contarini. The Sultan is only 25 years, actually 26 old, tall and slender but tough, with a thin and bony face. Facial hair is evident, but only barely. The Sultan appears friendly and in good humor. Rumor has it that Suleiman is aptly named, enjoys reading, is knowledgeable and shows good judgment. Upon succeeding his father, Suleiman began a series of military conquests, eventually leading to a revolt led by the Ottoman-appointed governor of Damascus in 1521. Suleiman soon made preparations for the conquest of Belgrade. From the Kingdom of Hungary, something his great-grandfather Mehmed II had failed to achieve, because of John Hunyadi's strong defense in the region. Its capture was vital in removing the Hungarians and Croats who, following the defeats of the Albanians, Bosniaks, Bulgarians, Byzantines and the Serbs, remained the only formidable force who could block further Ottoman gains in Europe. Suleiman encircled Belgrade and began a series of heavy bombardments from an island in the Danube, Belgrade, with a garrison of only 700 men and receiving no aid from Hungary, fell in August 1521. The road to Hungary and Austria lay open, but Suleiman turned his attention instead to the eastern Mediterranean island of Rhodes, the home base of the Knights Hospitaller. Suleiman built a large fortification, Marmaris Castle, that served as a base for the Ottoman navy. Following a 5-month siege, Rhodes capitulated and Suleiman allowed the Knights of Rhodes to depart. The conquest of the island cost the Ottomans 50,000 to 60,000 dead from battle and sickness. Christian claims went as high as 64,000 Ottoman battle deaths and 50,000 disease death. As relations between Hungary and the Ottoman Empire deteriorated, Suleiman resumed his campaign in Central Europe, and on the 29th of August 1526, he defeated Louis II of Hungary, 1506 to 1526, at the Battle of Mohacs. Upon encountering the lifeless body of King Louis, Suleiman is said to have lamented, "I came indeed in arms against him, but it was not my wish that he should be thus cut off," before he scarcely tasted the sweets of life and royalty. While Suleiman was campaigning in Hungary, Turkmen tribes in central Anatolia, in Cilicia, revolted under the leadership of Kalender Çelebi. Some Hungarian nobles proposed that Ferdinand, who was the ruler of neighboring Austria and tied to Louis II's family by marriage, be king of Hungary, citing previous agreements that the Habsburgs would take the Hungarian throne if Louis died without heirs. However, other nobles turned to the nobleman John Zapolya, who was being supported by Suleiman. Under Charles V and his brother Ferdinand I, the Habsburgs reoccupied Buda and took possession of Hungary. Reacting in 1529, Suleiman marched through the valley of the Danube and regained control of Buda. In the following autumn, his forces laid siege to Vienna. This was to be the Ottoman Empire's most ambitious expedition and the apogee of its drive to the west. With a reinforced garrison of 16,000 men. The Austrians inflicted the first defeat on Suleiman, sowing the seeds of a bitter Ottoman-Habsburg rivalry that lasted until the 20th century. His second attempt to conquer Vienna failed in 1532, as Ottoman forces were delayed by the siege of guns and failed to reach Vienna. In both cases, the Ottoman army was plagued by bad weather, forcing them to leave behind essential siege equipment, and was hobbled by overstretched supply lines. 444 in 1533, the Treaty of Constantinople was signed by Ferdinand I, in which he acknowledged Ottoman suzerainty and recognized Suleiman as his father and suzerain. He also agreed to pay an annual tribute and accepted the Ottoman Grand Vizier as his brother, an equal in rank